Welcome to the show. We are in week 2 of the 2011 Reebok CrossFit Games Open. I'm Rory Mckernan. We've got an excellent show lined out for you. For the first time ever in public, we're going to see Pat Sherwood wearing a tie. I'm also joined by the always energetic, always beautiful Heather Bergeron. We're going to cover a lot of the hot topics that people have been talking about. First, we're going to talk about the leaderboard. Top athletes from this week, top athletes from the past, where they've moved to, and who our overall leaders are now. We're going to address judging with some video review. We're also going to address the concept of periodization, how you should approach your training for the CrossFit Games. Finally, Tony Budding's going to come on the show to talk about team scoring. Enjoy the show. Prove your fitness. I am joined here at the desk by two amazing CrossFit athletes and CrossFit celebrities. We are joined by Heather Bergeron and Pat Sherwood. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much.
Can we never call us celebrities again?
No, how about web celebrities?
That's so awkward.
You hate it because it's true. So this week's workout, AMRAP in 15 minutes. We went a little bit longer. 9 deadlifts at a relatively light weight. 12 of these hand release push-ups, which were god-awful, and 15 box jumps. Talk to me about it. How did it go for you this week, Heather?
It was a good workout. I liked it. I mean, it was lightweight, which I don't love, and I like the body weight stuff. For I think a lot of women, it came down to the push-ups, for sure. I actually don't dislike the hand release as much as a lot of people do. I think it's a nice way to kind of work in built-in rest periods. If it was regular push-ups, I think it would have been like a, go sprint hard, and then earlier in the workout, I think I would have been breaking them up.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time seeing how clean the floor was at CrossFit Santa Cruz. Pat, how'd you feel about it?
When I first saw it, again, it seemed like lightweight on the deads, which I've learned enough in CrossFit that anything which seems like it's going to be the thing you blow off is going to somehow bite you in the butt sometime during the workout. So that dead certainly got heavy over the course of 15 minutes of pulling it off the ground. But I liked it because it was just a pure test your engine kind of workout. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't overly. They just stuck with the basics, and we're going to see just how much go you have over the course of 15 minutes. Lightweight. Nothing's going to slow you down, other than you're going to stop when you just feel like taking a break. So I did it on Wednesday. I've been doing the workouts Wednesday, right? The very next day I hit them, so I don't really know how poorly I'm doing compared to the world because there has not a lot of scores in yet.
Right.
And I thought I was doing relatively good until Heather informed me that her 10-year-old daughter actually beat me on the workout. So I think I'm done.
That's right. Maya, 10 years old and did what? 10 plus rounds?
10 plus 3, yeah. And that was she actually sat on the barbell after she finished her 10th round and was like, "I'm done." I'm like, "You are not done.
Oh, good.
You get
so she
up
had more
and
in
you
the
pick
tank.
up
That's
that bar."
fantastic.
Right. That is as cute as it is annoying.
Just to rub
Thank
that
you very
in.
much. I appreciate that.
Cool. So you both mentioned lightweight, okay? And same thing last week. Heard a lot of people say, hey, anybody could perform this movement maybe, right? 75-pound power snatch or ground overhead anyway. How do you like how these two have stacked up, and where do you see it in the broad scheme of the entire 6-week competition?
It's a great question. It's an interesting one. Obviously, the community is very involved, to say the least, about it. And I like where we're going so far, but what I need to realize, what everyone else needs to realize is there's 4 more workouts coming out. And so if we never go beyond this kind of loading, that they're different but similar, then I don't like where we're going. If the next 4 workouts really prove in some different time domains, some different variants with regards to loading in there, then I do like it. So thus far, it's been just let's get everyone in the world competing. We can all play. So far I like it. So far, so good.
I think the first 2 have been really welcoming for a lot of athletes that don't consider themselves competitive. So I think a lot of people kind of went in the opens thinking I'm not really going to do this competition, I'm not cut out for it. And then they see the workout and they're like, oh, I can actually do a 100-pound deadlift, or I can try a double under. I mean, if I get 1, then I still have a score. So it kind of roped in a couple of people that were on the fence, and now I think that they're in it. They're kind of the ball's rolling, so they're going to kind of stick with it, which I think is great.
Well, it's funny. So Pat, we spoke earlier,
right,
and you said, wow, there's 2 interesting challenges to this competition, right? It's the CrossFit Games Open. We're trying to find, we're basically trying to get the fittest athletes in the right place because we're trying to find the world's fittest eventually when we get to the games in July. Now, the other side of that is this inclusionary piece that you're talking about.
Right.
And you were saying, man, I pity the fool who
I don't
has to
envy.
program that.
Yeah, you're a hero if you do it right. And of course, in my opinion, if everyone's happy, you didn't do it right. If the runners are mad because it wasn't, Metcon enough, the lifters are heavy because it wasn't heavy enough, the gymnasts are upset because it wasn't enough gymnastics. If everyone's upset, it was probably fair and balanced. So we'll see how it pans out at the end. And strength, so thus far everyone's upset because we haven't tested strength. Of course, it all depends how you define it. But strength is just one aspect of fitness. We don't want you to be just strong. If you're the strongest person in the world, you're not the fittest person in the world. So you've needed to be strong to do well in these workouts, but you couldn't be one-dimensional. You've got to be strong, but you also have to have lungs to be able to go for quite some time. So far, so good.
Yeah.
I'm mainly doing the open because it brings out a level of intensity that I can't generate from any other source.
Because I want to do the games next year.
For years, we wondered how we'd stack up against some of the elite CrossFitters, and now we know.
It takes something local and it turns it into something global, and see how big this really is.
Rory Mckernan joined back at the desk by Pat Sherwood and Heather Bergeron. And guys, let's dig in now. Let's talk about the top 3 men, top 3 women from this week's performance. Pat, let's start with the men.
Sure. The number one man right now, as far as the second event goes, Jean-Claude Jardim, 629 reps, which for anyone out there looking to do some quick math is over 17 rounds of that workout.
Good
So,
Lord.
Again, I'm not the gold standard of anything, but athletes such as Chris Spieler, Matt Chan, I kind of know where they were in the 12 to 13 round range. I hear a 17, it boggles my mind, and I'm sure he's an amazing athlete, but I would love to see a video of that. It's just a tremendous amount of work in that time span.
All right, in first place for the women, we have Martina Barbaro. Again, upwards of bordering close to 18 rounds, which is phenomenal, but is raising a lot of question as to maybe, what's going on to make it an 18 round, close to 18 round score. So Martina's in there. She's from Milan, Italy, which...
Yeah, and I'd like to see that. Last week, we had equal representation from a lot of countries on the leaderboard. So kind of cool to see that spread of kind of the stronghold at the top.
Yeah, definitely.
Number two, Josh Bridges. He did 600 reps of that workout. And again, crunching the numbers on that, it's over 16 rounds. So again, just a tremendous amount of work being done in that. Some other things we do know about Josh, he's a pretty accomplished athlete. He's a Navy SEAL, so he's got that mental switch part like a wrestler to go, and push through some pain. And we've got him on tape also doing a 2:02 Fran, so he's definitely got an engine.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a legit effort. So
it's fantastic.
You got a 2-minute Fran doesn't necessarily translate into a 15-minute workout.
Sure.
But I've got some evidence of this dude being kind of a BA in the past.
He's got some capacity.
Yeah. Heather, who's sitting at number 2 for the women?
Number 2 for women, Angela Kamendoulis, I believe is how we pronounce her name, and she's coming in at 17 rounds even. So we've got 2 women now that are up there with the top 2 guys, if not beyond them. And again, a bold number for rounds for this workout. But
now, are you just kind of like slugging the haterade? Because
well, you know why I
bold's
am?
a good word. Bold number.
Bold. I'm hating only because I found out that she's in my region.
Oh.
So I like to,
So you got some stiff competition.
Yeah, I'm hoping that was all fake, but but yeah, she's in Worcester, Mass, and she's a salon owner. So I know she's got another gig going on. It's not just she's not just CrossFitting all day long, coaching.
Which is always impressive to me.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got this full-time job, and on the side, I'm a badass at CrossFit.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I'm doing 17 rounds.
And Worcester's a gorgeous town. Let's just say if anyone from Worcester's watching, it's beautiful there. I went to college, Worcester, God bless you, my alma mater.
So perfect segue then, number 3.
Number 3, Henry Lopez, 586 reps of that workout. Again, crunch the numbers, it's over 16 rounds. Amazing. If you didn't get over 16 rounds, you're not in the top 3 of that workout. It boggles my mind. It's almost double my performance.
Okay, number 3 for the women, we have Jessica Pinkerton from CrossFit Vitality in North Carolina. Again, very close to 17 rounds. So up there, high volume. Her husband is a mill guy, Marines. She started her CrossFit while he was overseas, and they just got things going now. So she's going strong. It turns out from what she says, she's not interested in the individual competition. She's looking more for a team, affiliate team option. But just kind of doing it for fun and loving it.
And
So
doing well at it.
Yeah, I'd be stoked to have her on your
turns out she's
team.
doing not too bad.
Yeah. That rounds up the top 3 from this week. We're going to look at last week's top 3 and see where they've shifted to in the leaderboard. Pat, let's start with the men. Last week we saw an amazing performance from Rich. What's he doing this week?
Yeah, Rich Froning went from first, now he's in 11th spot. So he doesn't even need to qualify to go back. He's just doing it because that's how he is, and he wants to see where he stands. But an amazing performance both weeks. And Rich is somebody, just my personal opinion, he's got a very, very, very strong shot to win the games. And, call it what you will, but I think he would have won the games last year if he had rope climbs. So, and I know he has rope climbs and then some now. He's
but
dead
you
serious.
Can't win the CrossFit Games without rope climbs.
No,
and
you
some of
can't.
these skills, right?
You can't.
Heather.
Yes.
Annie Torres-Daughter.
Yeah,
the fan,
Annie.
Iceland Annie. Where's she
Iceland
at?
Annie, one of everyone's favorites, actually. And I wish I could hate her, but she's so sweet. She's just such a badass athlete. She's gorgeous. She's got everything going for her. I want to hate her, but I can't. She started at first, and she's going to first again. So I think it's really cool that she's got things like this crazy DT time, but then she can rip out push-ups like she can, So definitely one of my favorite athletes.
Yeah. You guys been to Hawaii?
I have.
You get off the airplane, they put the flowers on you. I always picture getting off the plane at Iceland and they hand you like a kettlebell and you drive directly to a volcano.
I can see that. I think that's probably a pretty accurate assessment. The viewers
don't
would
know
probably
why.
agree.
Totally random, but-
That's what I think about Iceland. Let's move on. Number 2 from last week.
Number 2, David Stow, a beast. He went from, did very, very well in that first workout. He was second overall. He's in 78th now, but that's in the entire world. So he's doing just fine. And something I really like about him, and a piece of information I learned from you this morning, I'm a garage CrossFitter at heart. And I just found out that he CrossFitted in his garage and gained this incredible work capacity just with the simplest of means. And for about the last month since the Arnold, he's been working at an affiliate, but he's grown all these skills just in his garage.
We're going to hear in a second about Dan Bailey, but these dudes now train head to head. So on the first workout, you had number 2 and number 3 doing the actual WOD together. So top 2 scores, or top second and third score in the world, doing those in the same box at the same time.
And the importance of that can't be overemphasized. Look at Park City. You've got Eric O'Connor, who's an amazing athlete, he's been in a ton of games, and you got Chris Spieler. Every single day, those guys battle out, and they always do really well. So that push is really necessary.
Yeah. So talk to me about Megan John. Where did Megan go?
Megan John, well, she was that woman last year who, everything, whenever you're wondering like who Megan John is, she's always described as the little girl. She weighs, I don't know, she weighs like $115 maybe, and she's like well under 5 feet tall. But last year at regional, snatches came up, and it was kind of her body weight snatch that she was her 1 rep max, I think, at the time, and she ended up doing like 20 more or something. So didn't end up qualifying for the games, but ended up doing really, really well in that competition. Of the top women lately, she's been the only one that hasn't been a games competitor. I'm just worried that if things do start getting heavy, how's she going to hold up to it?
That's right. So Megan John actually did. She moved down a spot, or down 2 spots to 4th place. She was displaced by the woman they call Clever, who she actually was 3rd last week. And tell me about this last workout that she did.
Yeah, so we actually just got her phone call because she couldn't submit her numbers. So
What?
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It hasn't happened to anybody except for the fittest woman in the world. But yeah, we had no idea like what's going on with Kristen. Did she do the workout? What's up? She just called in and she nailed it. She came in 3rd for week 1, and now she's in 2nd overall.
The man to talk about from last week, number 3, but Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey, so much like Rory just said, he was 3rd last week and now overall 1st place. So how amazingly consistent is that? 3rd to 1st, you're in the top 3 both weeks in a row, and now he owns it. A lot of people didn't know who he was, and they certainly know who he is right now. Individual with a ton of capacity, trains with David Stow, we mentioned a second ago. And those of you who don't know who he is, he went head-to-head with Graham in the regionals last year and just had a calf injury or calf tweak that kept him from moving forward, but had the potential, I would say, to go to the games. So, and the world is full of a lot of interesting people like that missed the games by they took 4th instead of 3rd, and all those people need to do, they had a year to work on what kept them back, and now we're seeing more and more of these people that, were just in the shadows, crushing it this year. So he's the guy to watch.
Yeah, crushing it. And of course, newly signed with Rogue. Okay, got Heather's the Getting Faster athlete.
Get faster!
Dan just signed with Rogue, and we heard some amazing things of him coming out of the Arnold. So guys, after this, we're going to spice it up. We're going to talk about the judging at the affiliate level. We're going to look at some videos and analyze them here in real time with Pat Sherwood and Heather Bergeron, and we'll be right back.
I love the competition and the community aspect of getting together.
It's a chance for me to kind of really push hard and try to elevate my game a little bit.
It's just fun just to do it and see how I compare with everybody else.
I've actually never been in a competitive sport before, and so I'm just really excited to compete against others and see how I do this year and try to do better next year.
Rory Mckernan, we're back with a little bit of a hot topic. We're going to add some spice to the show. We're going to talk to Pat and Heather about the judging standards from this past week. We want to dig into the push-ups in particular. There's been a large discussion on the internet, as you guys both saw probably, and we just viewed 3 videos. One was the actual WOD demonstration, and the WOD, actually 4 videos, the WOD explanation by Tony.
Yes.
Then we watched the effort by Danielle Edmondson, and we also watched Megan Jean's video. Now, let's start first with the WOD demo.
Yes.
Okay. The WOD demonstration, the WOD explanation. You said there was some new information in there. Pat, we'll start with you that you had not viewed before.
Yes, and I must admit that I watched the WOD explanation, but not the demonstration. So, after just the explanation, my interpretation was beautifully strict, no deviation from perfection whatsoever. You know, if you need to rest more to obtain that, then you rest more and you get less push-ups. And then in the WOD demonstration, there was what you see in a normal workout. There's some fatigue, and I'm trying my best to maintain that good form, and that's, you know, what's deemed as acceptable. So would have benefited me to watch that previously.
No gripe with that, or how do you feel about it?
No gripe, because what I saw in the video in general, most of the reps, you know, I might have taken a few away, but in general I saw that athlete, if their chest did come up a little bit, the hip went right up because they were trying to lift it. Some of them were bad at taking it, but most of them were just good, solid effort, trying, you know, their best to do the range of motion.
Right.
My experience with standards is that there's, you know, you try and make it as little gray as you can.
Sure.
So when you say no snaking, that to me is no snaking. That is that, you know, hip and shoulder rising at the same exact time. The way it was described, the wording of it was, all right, Paige, let's show a really exaggerated version of the snake. You know, so she showed an exaggerated version where the hips were on the ground and the arms were almost fully locked out. So it's obvious a no rep. Then there's just that, well, okay, so does it have to be exaggerated for it not to count, or can it be like a slight snake? But the wording in the write-up was no snaking. So that's my thing. And I just, in competition, I think it's very important that there is no gray area.
So the snaking issue there is different from what Danielle was doing, you're saying, because she actually kept a solid midline, but she was almost kipping, she was almost doing like a kipping push-up, is what you called it.
That's just kind of what I call it, because you know, I've seen a lot of push-ups myself in CrossFit or in military or whatever, and I've never seen a push-up look like that. You know, push-up is a more of a strict movement, and that was, much like you said, she kept the integrity of her midline, which she almost had to, because she used that integrity of the midline almost in a slight hollow position, slight to rock back, forth, and when the chest came up off the ground, it was a bit of an assist on the push-up. And so was it a huge...
Assist from the momentum, you mean?
An assist...
Not from her thighs.
Correct, an assist from momentum of her body, you know, finishing that arc.
Okay.
And did it help? I'm sure that it did. How much? I don't know, a little bit, but a little adds up, rep after rep after rep after rep.
Well, I mean, if we're being real, you said that you thought you would have probably doubled your rounds, maybe?
No, I wouldn't have doubled my rounds, but I would have got more reps for sure. How many that is, I don't know.
There's going to be 1,000 athletes that are going to make it to the regional competition. Of those 1,000, 100, 50 men, 50 women are going to be invited to the CrossFit Games in July. Do you think, by your estimations, that someone could, who legitimately belongs to be in that top tier of the top, that they will be eliminated from this competition by that gray area? In other words, maybe they're holding a higher standard, or they're being maybe judged more harshly?
I personally don't. I think I'm 100% in agreement with how we design this competition and what coaches basically say, which is the cream will still rise to the top, and the people who should still be going to the games, to the regionals, and standing on the podium, they still will be. I fully believe that.
Heather?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the standards, the judging thing, that's going to hurt that middle group. It's not hurting the people that know they're not going to qualify to get into regionals. It's not going to hurt the group that is like that upper tier that knows they're going to get through opens to get into regionals. It's not gonna, it's that middle group, like, you know, you're right on the border, like, you know, it could come down to a few reps.
It's gonna hurt me.
Any takeaways that you're going to take from this conversation that we've had here, this learning experience, the time to pick Tony Budding's brain?
I think that coming out of this now, I have a better understanding that what is put out there as this is how the workout could look, is us saying this is acceptable. So if you're seeing Paige in that workout kind of losing, like coming a little bit delayed with her hips, but it's not a gross exaggeration of it, then if you see her doing it and that's what we're using as a demonstration of what the workout could look like, then it's good to go. It's not like on the main site when we post videos of, he's my buddy, but Dave Lipson, doing a back squat and he's clearly not dropping down below depth. We're not saying that that's okay. We're just saying this is what's going on out there. Community, respond to it.
Right.
So it's different. It's a different situation for the videos that we're posting. I think that's important to know going into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that test, unknown, unknowable. So, and it's fun.
I see where I stand in NorCal.
For the competition.
Not to try and advance to the games, more to see how I respond in the competitive environment. And so far, only out of 2 weeks, it's taught me a lot of lessons about myself.
Tony, let me ask you, is the leaderboard working?
Yes. It's working a lot better. It's not perfect yet. We still have a few things that we're working on, but it is substantially there. Today's Tuesday, April 5th. Over the past weekend, we made some major improvements in the way the leaderboard's functioning. We now have accurate assessments of the teams, and those rankings are what it needs to be. The right people on the teams are being calculated, and those teams are being ranked appropriately.
Okay, because I have had some members from my gym really good at numbers looking at the website, and they see, I've got an athlete in second place, and we've got some other people in the top 10, and then I look at an affiliate that has been beating us on the leaderboard with not those same numbers regionally.
Yeah.
And really, so far, that's our main source for information, and so I'm curious how that looks, or how you guys figure that out.
Yeah, so two things. One, there were some real flaws in the leaderboard before Sunday. Okay, so if you're looking before then, the numbers are unreliable, and I apologize for that. I mean, that's been bothering me probably more than anybody else. But it is, we have fixed that. But another thing too is we made a major change in the way that the results are being calculated, and I can go into a lot of detail, but basically it's this. Each team is being calculated based on the work performed. So your top 3 men, your top 3 women within a given week, you have the number of reps that each of them performed. We're adding those up. So you have a sum of 6 numbers, top 3 men, top 3 women. That sum is now being ranked against everyone else in the world, and that rank within that given week is your score. Okay? So that's your weekly score. Your rank based on the amount of work that your top 6 athletes did. So week 1, you have 1 score, your weekly rank. Then on week 2, you have another score, which is again the sum of your athletes' performances, that sum ranked against everyone else in the world, and then you get a total of your ranks.
We have also masters athletes, men and women.
Yes.
Are they on par with our regular RX athletes, or are they separate for?
Yeah.
How does that work for them?
Yeah. So this is the main reason why we changed from the rankings, which we were doing when we started the competition, to the actual results submitted, because the Masters rankings were not being included in the overall rankings. They were their own separate rankings. So it turned out by that method that was originally set up, that if you had a bunch of Masters athletes on your team, you were almost automatically going to place higher than a bunch of fire breathers competing in the open competition. It's obviously not right. Now, the Masters athletes do count on par. Okay, and if you look, actually, the performances of the Elder 2 Masters, which are the only scaled groups, they're actually below the Younger 2 Masters, and the Younger 2 Masters are below the open categories in terms of typical performances.
Thus far for the first 2 workouts.
Yes.
That
yes.
may or may not change. So your Masters athletes could, in fact, help your affiliate team. And then you could decide to use those Masters athletes if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Keep going to see where I'm standing, 1,300. Like, how cool is that?
See where I fall out. To represent the box. I mean,
Just see where I measure up.
Last week's conversation, we talked about last year's male champion, Graham Holmberg. didn't find himself where he wanted to be. He actually was in 319th place after WOD number 1, but we called him, wasn't sweating it, of course, wasn't stoked about it, but he was like, look, I'm where I want to be, and his approach to the games was one that was going to peak in July.
I think the athletes that know for sure they're going, they pre-qualified or whatnot, it makes some good rational sense not to beat themselves up for 12 months if they've got, in CrossFit we're training for the unknown, the unknowable for life. But these guys are now making CrossFit their sport, so they're training for something knowable. They have a date, they have roughly how long it will be. They know there's going to be multiple events. So they have more knowns than we're used to training for. So they can probably tweak the program a bit. I think Graham's taken it to an extreme, just from my interpretation of that I haven't seen yet, which is more of a classic periodization. I'm going to let some things slide for a while and try to gain some other capacity. I haven't seen athletes do that yet with success.
It's hard in this scenario, though, when you've got 6 weeks of athletes that are posting times and scores, and you're seeing these numbers go up, and he saw his number go up last week, wasn't psyched about it, and was like, I got to get into a gym, and I got to feel that competitive fire again, and get that going, and change things, obviously. I mean, I don't think it's just the workout. I don't think it's just, he's a ninja at push-ups and light deadlifts and box jumps. It's, it helps to be in that setting.
Right.
But I think he's still trying to stay true to his programming. And I think it's interesting that, but then, that works for him. Then there's other people.
You see, because you saw that actually did work for him this week because he made significant jumps back.
Yeah.
So Graham, I think 38th overall in the workout, which brought him back from 319 to 101 overall in the world.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if what he's doing works in the long run, because he's just taking a more classic approach, which we really haven't seen yet. And of course, we're big in CrossFit where we say experiment. If it works, we're going to implement it. I think what most people do with the competitors such as Spiel or Chan, I've talked with, because I have a lot of exposure to those guys, is they don't want to lose any capacity, and they kind of do what we preach all the time is, while not losing any capacity, I know what I'm not good at, what I don't want to see come out of the hopper, and I try to work those deficiencies without losing anything. Whereas the classic periodization is, I'm going to let some things slack because this is my strength phase. This is my cardio-based phase. So Graham's taking a different approach. I'm curious to see how it goes.
Right. So there's always that little bit of give and take, but to be so strategic about it could backfire on you pretty drastically, right?
We're going to find out here in July. It's going to be interesting.
So, Rory, I have a question. There's been rumblings in the community, but is there any truth to the fact that this is going to be the last year of pre-qualifications for the games?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll put that actually back on both of you. Pat, if that were to be true, if you had to go every single athlete to the regionals to qualify for the games, does that change the answer to what we were just talking about?
I think it doesn't change my answer, which is I'm in agreement with what athletes like Chan and Spiel do, which is hitting it hard, listening to their bodies, do a double day when they can, work the weaknesses. They're kind of in a 90% ready state most of the year. I think that would not allow Graham to do what he's doing, which is, because you'd have to be ready for the Opens and ready for the regionals and ready for the games. That kind of periodization, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and just to touch on what Heather said earlier, in the 09, in 2010, boom, he peaked right at the right time. In 09, didn't quite make the mix, right? At regionals, he kind of burned out of the tank. Heather, would it change anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do have to look at the year a little bit differently then. Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with what Pat said on it. It does change the calendar year a little bit for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And one thing that hasn't really been mentioned, but it is also on that day you've got to perform, right? If I might peak for July, but shit, I have a bad day. So there's that issue too. So I kind of think maybe we won't have the clear answer to this conversation until we see maybe a repeat champion or even a three-peat.
We're gonna get the data.
Get the data, absolutely. Guys, thanks for your answers. It's been actually extremely insightful for me.
My pleasure.
You've been amazing, Rory.
Stop.
I mean, I know Tony talks crap about your back, but
I don't care what Tony says about you.
Your tie is awesome.
We'll be back next time, guys. Thanks for joining us. That's our show.